Welcome to the Plume and Page. Today's story is The Shoemaker and the Elves. There was once a shoemaker who, through no fault of his own, had become so poor that at last he had only enough leather left for one pair of shoes. That evening he cut out the shoes which he intended to begin upon the next morning, and, since he had a good conscience, he lay down quietly, said his prayers, and fell asleep. In the morning, when he had prayed as usual, and was preparing to sit down to work, he found the pair of shoes standing finished on his table. He was amazed, and he could not understand it in the least. He took the shoes in his hand to examine them more closely. They were so neatly sewn that not a stitch was out of place, and were as good as the work of a master. Soon after, a purchaser came into the shop. He was very pleased with the shoes and paid more than the ordinary price for them, so that the shoemaker was able to buy leather for 2 pairs with the money. He cut them out that evening, and the next day, with fresh courage, was about to go to work. But he had no need to, for when he got up, the shoes were finished, and buyers were not lacking. These gave him so much money that he was able to buy leather for 4 pairs of shoes. Early next morning, he found the 4 pairs finished, and so it went on. What he cut out at night was finished in the morning, so that he was soon again in comfortable circumstances, and became a well-to-do man. Now it happened one evening, not long before Christmas, when he had cut out shoes as usual, that he said to his wife, "How would it be if we were to sit up tonight to see who it is that comes to lend us such a helping hand?" The wife agreed, and so they lit a candle, and hid themselves in the corner of the room behind the clothes which were hanging there. At midnight came 2 little naked men who sat down at the shoemaker's table, took up the cut-out work, and began with their tiny fingers to stitch, sew, and hammer so neatly and quickly that the shoemaker could not believe his eyes. They did not stop till everything was quite finished, and stood complete on the table. Then they ran swiftly away. The next day the wife said to the shoemaker, "The little men have made us rich, and we ought to show our gratitude. They run about with nothing on, and must freeze with cold. Now I will make them shirts, coats, and vests, and will even knit them some thick stockings, and you shall make them each a pair of shoes." The husband agreed, and in the evening, when they had everything ready, they laid out the presents on the table, and hid themselves to see how the little men would behave. At midnight they came skipping in, and were about to set to work. But instead of the leather already cut out, they found the charming clothes. At first they were surprised, then excessively delighted. With the greatest speed they put on and smoothed down the pretty clothes, singing, "Now we're dressed so fine and neat, why cobble more with others' feet?" Then they hopped and danced about, and leapt over chairs and tables and out of the door. From that time on, the little men came back no more. But the shoemaker fared well as long as he lived, and had good luck in all his undertakings.